Hey everyone, hope you're well. So today's topic, it was a requested topic. It was basically how to find balance in a relationship, marriage. It was specifically marriage for the person that asked, but you can apply this to relationships in general as well. And this person also asked for examples on how my husband and I make things work and things of that nature. Meaning, how do we continue to maintain a healthy, balanced connection and relationship? Lula's here, so you might hear her from time to time. But I want to start off by giving the disclaimer, you know what I mean, that what works for me, what works for us may not work for everybody else. Everyone's personalities are not the same. Everyone's love languages are not the same. Everyone's circumstances are not the same. But what I do have to say, you guys know I'm always going to be honest with you, is that truth be told, is even though, yes, there are obstacles that we encounter in our marriage as well, as everyone does, I will honestly say, and I feel truly blessed to say, and this is not to toot my own horn or anything like that, that we don't have issues with each other. Does that make sense? The issues that we have had, the obstacles that we have encountered, have been more about life, like life happening, life circumstances, life changes that presented challenges that we had to work through and overcome together. For example, after having Lula, I had postpartum. And on top of that, we moved into a house, and the economy took a turn. And so it was a very challenging time. And so when life is happening, it can impact your relationship, you know what I mean? Because you're not feeling like your best self. And there were times when he's been stressed as well. But we never actually had issues with each other, you could say, because if I'm being honest, that we are a fit for each other. We are each other's person. We are in harmonious alignment with one another. So balance comes natural for us. But speaking on my own experiences of the past, I know what it's like to be in situations that were not that. Because the people I had dated before were definitely not that. So I say that to say that if you are in a connection that's honestly just not a fit, not your person, not really compatible, it doesn't really matter what you do, it's still going to be hard. Can you work on it? Yes. Things like counseling and therapy can help. Can you continue to choose that person? Yes. But some of us in our life don't actually manifest or end up with the person that is our ideal match or fit because we continuously choose another person. And that's okay if that is your path, if that is your journey, if that is your choice, whether it's because you have, I keep touching my hair because I'm getting used to these clip-in highlights, sorry. But if that's the path you choose, whether it's because you have history with that person, whether it's because it's a comfort zone, whether you're fearful of starting over, I get it. I've been there, but I've also I got to a point in my life personally to where I no longer was going to settle for anything less than what I truly deserved, my match. And so I was ready to just be alone and just focus on self-love. And when I got to that point, I ended up manifesting my now husband. So it's a cliche, but it's true that you find true love when you stop looking for it outside of you. Not even find, because I don't even believe you find it. It manifests into your life. You receive it. It comes into alignment with you when you stop seeking it outside of yourself, when you stop searching for it, and when you stop trying to force things. Now, all that being said, and I do plan to do a video on how I manifested my husband. I had previously done a video on how I manifested my relationship, which was speaking about him, but I decided to take it down and do an updated one because I've had some other epiphanies about the process that I want to cover. So I'll do that at some point. However, Yes, baby. All that being said, if you're in a situation that you want to choose, because you have that right and that's okay, and you feel like it's out of balance, out of alignment, and you want to give things a try, I understand that, because you don't know until you try. And you want to at least say at the end of the day that you gave it your all, you gave it your best. And then if it doesn't work out, then there's no, well, what if I did this or what if I did that? Because you gave it all a try. So I had been in those situations before in the past, before being with my current husband, my only husband that I've ever had, but you know what I mean. My now husband. I've been in situations to where in the past I've tried to teach them how to love me, show them how I needed to be loved. I've, tried to be the good woman, the wife material, show them how amazing of a catch I was. None of that mattered because they were not my person, and also they were just not matching my energy. They were not putting in the same effort. They were not willing to try. And that was because we both individually, and I'm talking about different relationships at different points in life, but we had our own issues. We had our own shadow work that needed to be done. And a lot of the time they weren't able to match my depth because their comfort zone was surface level. As a empath, as a psychic, I cringe when I use the word empath now because it's been so overused and people use it wrongly. But as a psychic empath, with spirituality being my whole life, being so energetically sensitive and all of the clair abilities I have, like clairvoyance, clairaudience, etc., clairsentience, being a medium, even though I do not necessarily promote my mediumship because I can't control it, it just happens when it happens. Being all of these things in my belief system, in the past it was hard to not find again, I don't like that word. It was hard to resonate with partners that were on the same vibration as I was. They were not as deep, they were not as in depth. And I often would make excuses for their inability to be my match or to love me correctly because I understood what traumas they had that made them that way. But at some point, you can't keep making those excuses. You know what I mean? They have to want to work on themselves for them, not for you, and vice versa. Yeah, baby, exactly. So I say all that to say that the best way to, if you want to choose someone and work on things, is to work on your self-awareness first, so that you can then communicate clearly, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I need, this is what I'm seeing in our relationship, and maybe keep it in balance of, these are the things I love, but these are also the things that upset me or frustrate me that need to work on, while also acknowledging what you need to change within yourself without taking all of the blame. And they ideally would need to do the same. But if they can't, if they don't see it, if they're not willing to try, and if you've laid all these things out there and living as your authentic self and it's still not working, then you may need to reevaluate the situation. So one of the things I think is important that my husband and I do try to do is to no longer hold things in, but to communicate an issue when it arises or how it's making you feel in that moment, versus waiting, holding it in because you don't think it's a big deal at that time. And then small thing after another piles up. And then all of a sudden there's a big thing and you're like, wow, there's a blow up. I didn't even know you felt that way. I didn't know that was going on. You didn't communicate with me. We could have worked on this together. Those are some examples. So try to address it in the moment instead of holding it in. But you also, the best advice I can give is to wait a little bit until you're a little bit more neutral and able to communicate things, instead of, you don't want to get to a point to where you're disrespecting one another. That's the key, I think. And if you're not being disrespectful and the person is still disrespecting you and you voice that over time, this is not an issue I have, but in my current situation, but in the past I have had that, then you may need to have some space. It really just comes down to what your own personal boundaries are, what your own personal limits and standards and deal breakers are, because everyone's are not going to be the same. So maybe you would also want to start there with self-evaluation of what that is for yourself. Like I mentioned, maybe therapy or counseling could be a help if you and your partner are open to that. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to, if things never change, are you able to continue to live in that partnership or not? I don't know if this is helpful, because I know someone specifically requested this, so this is I'm mainly talking to that person, but if other people can relate to this, then that's great too. But I've been in situations in the past to where, like I said, I've tried to show them how amazing I was so they would think I was a good catch, and they still didn't fully commit, or they still didn't change, or they still chose someone else. I've been in situations where I've been understanding of their problems and their insecurities and what they needed to work through as that empathetic person, thinking that when they're in a better place, they're gonna finally choose me. But no, the issue with that is that when you continue to accept certain behavior, the more you stick around with someone that's disrespecting you, they've lost respect for you over time, because they haven't changed yet, and you're still around, and you're still trying, and you're still giving more to it than them. They've lost respect over time. And so the issue with that is that most of the time, either it just becomes too much a weight on you, and hopefully you at some point choose yourself, or if you're not already committed, a lot of the time they end up with somebody else, and then you wonder why that next person gets the version of them that you were trying to get from them. It's because they lost respect for you over time, instead of showing up and just sticking to your standards and being your authentic self, and then backing away and choosing a different path when they were not being that. Does that make sense? And yes, some people can work through issues together for sure, but there's a difference between settling and growing together. And I think a lot of people don't really understand that, because in order to grow together, there's mutual effort and desire to work on things and grow together. And when there's a slip up or a mess up, and I don't mean something big like a deal breaker like cheating or anything like that. I mean, unless you're somebody who is okay with trying again after that. Me personally, I'm not. But like, let's say you told someone, I don't like when you speak to me in this way, and they revert back to that. That's what I mean by like a slip up. If they catch themselves and then correct themselves, that is, I believe, a form of growth and progress, because maybe the next time they won't do that again. You know what I mean? Versus someone who keeps doing it over and over and over, and you beg for an apology. They do it, they give you an apology just to make you shut up, basically. But then it happens again. That's settling. Does that make sense? Those are examples. So anyways, I feel like I'm rambling on. The best advice I can give, yeah, baby, is to be your truest, authentic self in the best version of you, because you also have to be aware when you yourself are being dysfunctional too. So work on that. And then when you've been working on yourself, and hopefully you guys are working through that as individuals for yourselves, and then that will help you come into alignment with each other. But if not, if you're the one doing all the work and they're not willing to change, you may need to reevaluate it. Because like I said, for myself personally, in my current relationship, my current marriage, it flows easily and the balance comes naturally with continuing to tackle life and all of the amazing things and the ups and downs of it it flows. It's not forced, and we are always respectful of one another. We are always open to hearing each other out, and definitely wanting to understand one another. And that's because we are a vibrational match for each other. And always, because I was very detailed when I manifested him, which I'll get into. And so like even our thought system, our belief systems are resonating with each other, but that does not mean we agree with each other on everything. Does that make sense? Like in terms of just certain things about life, we still challenge each other, we still learn from each other. So hopefully this was helpful. Comment below your thoughts. How do you keep the balance in your relationship, your connections, even if it's not romantic, even if it's friendship or family? Communication is key. Not everybody's a mind reader. In fact, nobody's really a mind reader specifically. You can pick up on feelings and vibrations and maybe clues about things, especially if you're intuitive, but it's always important to be communicative. Communicative. Exactly, baby. So I hope this helped at all. Bye.